and she kind of did a training with like, I think it was like 100 of us we had out there, right? It was a small group, which was cool. And I got introduced to her. She's definitely a numbers person, but numbers in a different way. Numbers in, like she says, numbers in sales. People don't get those. They kind of separate. They don't get them correlated, but she knows how to bring that conversation together to help you run your business. So she's going to be, and she's been at EXP now since as corporate though, for, was it 4 or 5 years now, corporate EXP total?
Well, so I was at corporate for almost 2 years. So I'm not actively in the role anymore, but I'm still an agent. I've been an agent here for 4 years almost.
Right.
So,
but you have started some new things that I wanted to talk to you about again too, because there's a lot of stuff to the back end for the revenue share stuff that she has available too, which for those who might want to know, it's pretty gangster. But anyways, without further ado, Ashley, thank you for taking your time today, all the way from Dallas, to come speak with our team and share with us some of the knowledge you have on your real estate business and finances and training. So the stage is yours, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. So Chris said it earlier. I don't know if everybody was on here or not yet, but this is one of the hardest things for real estate agents, is treating it like a business, because you are typically a salesperson. You're great at the relationship stuff, but you're not great at the business. You're not great at the finances. And so that's the hardest thing for agents. And I think that is a real issue right now with the market that we're dealing with, in that it's not just about, it can't just be about commissions anymore. And if you really want to kind of winterize the business and treat it like a business, you've got to kind of get out of that, hey, I'm just focused on transactions kind of deal. So I actually did this talk a couple weeks ago at the which, if you haven't had Fee Gentry on, she's amazing. She asked me to come speak at the Black Agent Expo in Detroit a few weeks ago, and that's where I kind of put this talk together. So I'm going to share screen. Hopefully, I don't love Google Meet for this reason, but I'm going to do it. Here, window. I want the whole thing.
Yeah.
I want this one. Okay. So, can you guys see this?
It's coming through right now. There we go. Yep, purple screen.
Perfect. Yep. All right. So when you guys think about success, right? Hopefully you got some country music fans, because this is my default. I'm a Texas girl, so I love me some country. And so when I think of country music, the king, right? George Strait is the king of country music. And so you would think that that would make him #1 financially, brand recognition, all of those things. And then when you think of Jimmy Buffett, you think this old hippie, right? That just is like this cool guy chilling on a beach in Hawaii. And really, the difference being is that brand and the value of the brand, because Jimmy, obviously, rest in peace, just passed away. His estate, his brand is worth $1 billion versus the king, right? And Jimmy's the parrot head is his nickname, right? But the king is worth $300 million. And the difference is that George Strait, although he's the king, he's really just doing concerts and tickets and maybe some merchandise or something like that. Jimmy really figured out what that brand identity was worth. And so beyond just the ticket sales and the entertainment part, right? It was the restaurants, it was the merchandise, it was not only the restaurant name and the brand, but also the liquor being sold in the restaurant was licensed to Jimmy Buffett, right? And through him. And so he was getting paid on every single piece. And so that, I think, is one of the biggest things, especially in this digital age, agents are missing out on. When you think about, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan hasn't played basketball in how many years, right? 20, I don't know, something like that. And yet he's still getting paid, and he has the most successful endorsement in shoes ever. People are making, literally creating businesses off of reselling Jordans, right? That's a brand. That is longevity in its, paying his bills, even though he's not actually playing basketball anymore. And so I did a little research around endorsements and, kind of this affiliate thing, right? Where you get paid for the recognition. And what year do you think the very first affiliate or endorsement occurred in professional sports? Anybody got a guess?
The 80s?
Nope.
70s?
Nope.
Jeez.
1904.
Whoa.
1904, and I can't remember his name. I need to look it up again. But 1904 was a baseball player who got the very first endorsement. outside of what he actually got paid to play baseball. And this is where I think agents are missing the boat, right? And so we're going to do a quick little exercise. And so again, agents are so focused, their one form of revenue, the one thing is agent GCI from transactions. And so some agents have gotten outside of, and so you think, okay, title, lending, insurance, inspectors, like there's other pieces that are involved and other people that get paid from a transaction, right? So I'm going to take 60 seconds and I want you guys to figure out, and I want you to write down as quickly as you can, how many people you think are involved in a transaction. No matter how big or small, how many people do you think, besides these 6 or so, that are involved in a transaction that get paid when a house lists, sells, either side? So 60 seconds, we're going to stop at 124. I think it's almost 123. Let's start my timer. You didn't know you were going to have to do work today. Oh. I need some music for this. A little Jeopardy.
A little Jeopardy.
A little Jeopardy. Do, 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 do. No, nobody wants to hear me sing it. Oh.
So directly from the transaction or indirect?
No, indirect. It can be any ancillary, indirect vendor associated. All right. Real quickly, I'm going to stop sharing again so I can see all faces for a second. Okay. So raise your hand, shout it out. How many did you guys come up with? How many did you get to?
I got 3.
3?
Yeah.
Okay.
30.
12. 6.
6? 30? I heard somebody say 30.
I did 12.
12? All right. Who said 30?
Us.
So combined as a group.
As a group. As a group effort. Group effort. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share screen again, and I'm going to show you. It is, let's see here, this one. There are over 50, and I don't even have all 50 on this slide because they wouldn't fit. There are over 50 ancillary services and businesses that get paid during, before, after, whatever, when a home sells. So when you think about, you know, marketing or commissions or the photographers, the HOAs get paid, builders, I mean, literally 50 plus other businesses are touching and involved with a home that sells. So we're only getting the one commission, yet there's 50 plus businesses out there that you are at the center of. It's your client. The transaction begins and ends with you, and yet you're not getting paid for your brand. You're not getting paid for access. When you think about all of these influencers on Insta, right, and TikTok and whatever, they're getting paid for those followers. No one, Kanye, Kim, Kardashian, whatever, they don't post anything without getting paid. So why are we giving this away? We're giving away our clients, our transactions, and everyone else is getting paid. Now, I'm not saying that you will be able to go out and get 50 plus streams of revenue from one transaction, right? But I'm just saying, get the wheels turning. There are lots of other opportunities for you to increase the revenue and the dollars that you're getting from the transaction that you're already doing, guys. So that's where creating the not only, yes, EXP, and this is the thing, I think a lot of agents don't realize that you don't have to be the brokerage in order to get paid, because that's where the misconception is, and the greatest I think, I don't want to call it a scam or lie or just, you don't know what you don't know, is that a lot of times the brokerages are getting paid from these same 50 plus people, or at least some of them. But that doesn't mean that you don't have the opportunity and the leverage of saying, listen, this is my client. This is my value. This is how much production we do. So putting together a vendor program, and EXP provides the best place to do that, because they're not sitting there saying, well, we have to get, you have to use our people. Yes, you can use our people, right? Title, lending, all that. But there are so many places locally that you can partner with and go, listen, if you want access, you got to pay to play, because you're just giving it away for free right now. And I think that's the biggest thing I see, especially with EXP agents, is that you have to treat this, especially if you're doing attraction and want to grow an organization, you have to treat it like a brokerage within a brokerage. And you have to have that vendor program and the value of, because yes, there's RESPA, yes, there's what's the other one? Totally drawing a blank right now. CFPB, all that kind of stuff. But there are definitely still ways for lenders to contribute to your events, lenders to pay for trainings. They love trainings now. There are still marketing services agreements that they will do. So it's just about making it a purposeful plan and executing that vendor program. But when I was doing this at brokerages, I mean, there were some with 200 agents. And so if you have 200 agents in your organization, guess what? I was making 50 grand a month off of that vendor program for the brokerage. There's no reason, there's no legal thing that says that you as the agent can't be a part of, as long as you're disclosing, as long as you understand what the value and what they're getting. And really, if you center it around, leveraging your social media and your brand identity, vendors will pay for any type of advertising. So make it centered around the advertising and how many clicks or how many views or how many, what your database is, things like that. And then again, how many transactions they have access to try and sell. And I promise you, they will do it. And if you have an agreement with them, that is, they want to have a budget. Don't just go to somebody and be like, hey, I just sent you this lead. I arbitrarily want you to pay for this event, or I arbitrarily want you to do this. That is where they get stuck, and they're like, well, I already blew my budget for the month. And so they don't have any funds left over for you. So look at it as a business. Think of yourself as the brokerage and go to all that, because that's where we're missing the opportunity. All of the other traditional brokerages with brick and mortars, they're getting paid locally with your local affiliations and ancillary services. You're not, and EXP's not. So they're getting more dollars because we're not treating this as a purposeful brokerage within a brokerage and revenue stream opportunity. So this is the current model, right? You're getting that one transaction and the GCI from that transaction. Here's where I think the most opportunities are for agents, all right? So if you update, oops, I forgot to move my little thing in the center back. If you are looking at, okay, what makes the most sense? What's the most bang for my buck? Maybe it's not, okay, I want to go and combine forces with a janitorial or cleaning services, or maybe I don't want to do, a photographer relationship. That just seems too small, right? These are the 6 that I think have the most impact and the most opportunity financially. So again, lenders, they love joint ventures. You can own and have ownership in a lender, in a mortgage, deal. They will absolutely do training events. And then if you're not leasing and subleasing space to them, that is a very easy way for them to provide additional revenue to you. Same thing with title and escrow. They will do joint ventures. If you are like, man, we really don't have a title company in this area, or hey, statewide, again, that is the beauty of EXP and being virtual, right? So create a virtual title company and follow that same model. And there's no reason that you can't have joint venture and ownership with that title company as an individual agent. So if you're looking at investing in, like, there are literal brokerages that, and this is kind of where flat fee brokerages came from, is they were like, hey, we don't really care about the brokerage making money. We just want to get the title business and the lending side. And so they will lose and be completely upside down on the brokerage piece and transactions as far as the agents are concerned, but they're making hand over fist in title and lending. So if that's something that you're looking at, hey, I want to invest, I want to grow, I want to, title and lending are great opportunities for that. One thing I think is really underutilized is transaction coordination. There is a company called Empower Transactions. The chick's name is Jen McKinley. I'll get her contact info to Chris after this, but they will do a white label for you of transaction coordination. So again, if you have a large rev share organization and you want to provide resources to those agents, create a TC team, right? And they have the AI and all the systems to automate it and white label it. And I'm pretty sure they're in all 50 states. So that's a huge opportunity to go, hey, I'm going to charge, and we're going to create it and charge, $300 or $200. And then you're only paying them 120 or 150, whatever the split is. And now you're making something off of all of those transactions, whether it's your closing or not from your team. So transaction coordination is a huge opportunity. Coaching, I think I'm kind of a little jaded on the coaching. I think anyone can be a coach, right? Anyone can say they're a coach. You don't have to necessarily be a, success coach or this coach. You don't have to pay to be certified. You can coach anyone you want to. So if you're not spreading out and going, hey, I want to help other people and bringing in coaching revenue, it's really, really lucrative to add that to your services of helping other agents or even coaching brokerages or coaching teams, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can expand on that and add coaching to your revenues. Training and events, I know this is a hard one, but again, eXp provides a great platform for this, especially if you do virtual Eventbrite tickets. You can still sell and bring in vendors and bring in speakers, and there is a lot of opportunity to create revenue around training yourselves and doing events for yourself. You do not have to wait for eXp to do them. In fact, they're doing less events. This is why Build is going to be in Hawaii, is because even Brent realized I've got to do more and not less. And so the one Build event is now turned into multiple events all around the country, because that's how much opportunity there is to create revenue and wealth around events. And there's no reason that you can't do one, right? It's just, again, making the plan, executing, bring the value, and you could be, creating events for yourself. And the last thing is technology. We talked about AI, Otter, congratulations. I'm impressed that you figured. I've never seen it in a Google Meet before. See it a lot in Zoom. And so ChatGPT, all of these things, if you are using any technology at this point, any software as a service, so go high level, almost every CRM, you can white label almost anything at this point. So if you want to go and say, hey, this resource works for me, and so I'm going to resell it. I'm going to be an affiliate for this product that I'm using and I love it. So why not endorse it and get paid to share it? It's the same concept as eXp, but utilize that in your tech, because all those companies they're getting paid for that subscription every month, $30, $100, whatever. There are commissions being paid to affiliates for technology brands. So one of the they're all go high level white labels, but oh my gosh, I'm going to draw a blank because I need it right this second. Follow up speed, Attraction, all of those, they will let you be an affiliate and get a link, and then you get a piece of every little thing. And it doesn't start out overnight as just a massive amount of money, but we are, nationwide and in 24 countries. So your opportunity to share solutions that work, technology solutions that work for people in the eXp platform is far better than most other agents and other brokerages. So I absolutely think that technology is a very untapped market for agents to become affiliates and recommend and share solutions, because that's the thing. We're all looking for solutions and they change all the time. And so what worked a few years ago is not necessarily the latest and greatest. So if you've got something that you love and it's working in your business, then go to that company and go, hey, do you want me to help you, share the love? And they will figure out how to get you a portion of that monthly subscription fee. So any questions on this? I'm going to stop for a second before I switch to the kind of brokerage comparisons and team comparison numbers stuff that I do.
So interesting level. The go high level thing, I think, is such highly used piece right now. I know Dylan and I started it with Attract Zen. I use Attract Zen, which is a go high level. And then Kinder Reese and those guys use Attract Y, another high level. Sheila Ferris-Ron has got one now on Agent Launchpad, and that's another high level.
Look at that.
Yep. So, and they're utilizing it, and they all are taking the Go High Level platform and selling their own thing and charging X, Y, and Z on a monthly basis for that.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, obviously, Sheila has a huge following because she brought Brent in. So
Right.
everybody knows who Sheila is. And so they're utilizing her agent launchpad. There's a price comparisons too. Attract ROI through Kinder Reese was $200 a month.
Yep.
Agent launchpad through Sheila is $19.95. So yeah, I can the spectrum goes from A to Z here as far as you be able to charge what you want to charge and create that technology piece. So you're right. Go High Level is the way to go. If you want to white label something and start marketing it, you could charge whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just for, Go High Level is not just for attraction, right? For recruiting. You could create a coaching platform within Go High Level and automate all of your coaching stuff and your scheduling and everything. And then you could white label that to other coaches, right? There's literally no limit to, it's only for the real estate industry or it's only for agents who are recruiting, right? That's just a specific use case that those agents have gone out and created already. There are so many other applications that you could apply that to and be getting a piece of that pie. And that's what all of it comes down to is right now, we're seeing the market constrict, right? The number of transactions is going down. And so our prices are coming back down. And so our piece of the transaction and commission pie is getting smaller. Obviously, we saw that RE/MAX settled the buyer's commission deal, right? We are into uncharted territory of what the transactions are going to look like. Even the insurance industry is so disrupted right now that I was talking to a friend that's a lender last night. They're having trouble insuring things at this point, which means things are harder to close because they can't get a homeowner's policy on a FHA or VA or whatever it is, and they have to because the insurance industry is so hurting right now and devolving. And so all of these things are making it harder for us to get these transactions and get the commissions. If you don't start working on these other pieces and diversifying the revenue that are still centered around the transactions, you're totally not going to be able to, get the longevity and survive in this market, right? We've already seen, I think it's like, I can't remember if it's 60,000 or 120,000 that have already exited and left the industry since the beginning of the year. That is only going to go up for the next 18 months. And so the ones that can survive are going to get more transactions. But is that enough? Because the cost of living, everything is more expensive. You can't make the same amount of money that you've already always made and still be in the same place because everything costs more. It's not just, gas is expensive right now. It's not just, food's expensive. It's literally everything. And so you've got to do more. And why not do it in the place that you're already in, right? The lane that you're already in. You're already in the real estate. You're already doing the transactions. You already have the database and the customers. So get creative and think about what else could you get paid on that you're already doing and get a piece of what everybody else is getting. So anybody have any other questions around that? And then I'm going to kind of switch gears to this other thing that I do.
Yeah. If anything, maybe just real quick, Ashley, like two things that maybe somebody could change. Maybe like, again, some people here might be new and just starting the real estate business and they're thinking, oh my God, I gotta figure out this real estate business first. And now you want me to add these ancillaries,
right?
Like drinking from a fire hose, right? Is there two things they can maybe do real quickly that they could maybe get it started? Like what would be the easiest path?
Well, I think the easiest path is home warranties, right? That's the easiest thing to set up. EXP has an affiliation. You can pick whatever home warranty company you want, and they will do an affiliation with you. And you get $50, $75 for every single transaction that you provide, and they will give you the home warranty, or that you sell a home warranty for them, for your clients. I think that's the easiest one. The other one I really do think is the I don't know, man, I'm torn. Utilities. I put it on the slide, but I didn't really talk about it. So there are utility concierge, ACN. There are companies out there. Your clients have to get services. They're going to get electricity. They're going to get cable. They're going to get cell phones, whatever that is. That's a really easy one to plug into and go, hey, here's what we recommend. And then you're getting, it's almost like an insurance agent's annuity, because you're getting a portion of that bill that they pay every month. So electricity is awesome in states that it's deregulated because Now, if, like summer in Texas, we just had one of the hottest summers in a long time. Our electricity bills were $400, $500 a month. And so my percentage of that was much larger for any of the clients that are signed up through that electricity service. So I would say that's the second E. Those two are the easiest for sure, is to go sign up through a utility concierge or an ACN or something like that and get paid, because again, your client's coming to you. This is the thing that, most people misinterpret of being a real estate agent. They think it's just about the house and it's just about buying and selling the house and getting closed and getting them moved in and whatever. You are now that person's go-to for everything in their life, right? This is the largest purchase they're going to make. And so they're going to come to you. If they come to you and trust you for that, they're going to come to you and trust you for even the smallest thing. So anything like that, as far as the utilities go, you're far easier. And there's already platforms to just plug and play in those, right? So I think those two are your best for that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
All right.
Okay. So this other thing that, Chris and I originally, had met over is I worked at corporate for a couple of years. I spent 16 years at Keller Williams. I really am this kind of brokerage expert and financial person. And so what I did when I came to EXP on the brokerage side or on the corporate side is I would come in, and when you're talking to a prospect, whether it's a team or a brokerage, one of the hardest things for them to conceptualize is, especially for the brokerages, is how do I make money if I'm not the broker of record anymore, right? If I'm not getting the cap or the split, the assumption becomes, well, I'm going to lose my rear end, right? And so why would I do that? Why would I come over and why would I, let EXP be the brokerage? And so I come in and I am part of that conversation with the prospect to go, let's break it down. Let's see what those financials actually look like and do an apples to apples comparison, a pro forma of here's your current business model and your cost of sales and all of those things. And then here's what it would look like at EXP. Because the worst thing that anybody can do in making a major business decision like that is to assume, right? If they're assuming, then they're not seeing the actual reality. And so that's really kind of what my other, one of my other shticks is I'm still doing it, even though I'm not a corporate. So when I was doing it at corporate, I was getting paid a salary. And so now I'm just charging for this, but it's still 100% worth it as far as value of you having someone who can speak your language. And it's also the epitome of what we already know, right? Third-party validation is I'm the third-party finance expert. So I don't have any skin in the game of, them being the sponsor, but I'm able to give them the clarity and the transparency of what it looks like for them financially. And so I'm going to walk you through kind of what that, comparison looks like so you can see, because I think that's the tangible that a lot of people are missing when they're looking at, okay, I'm thinking about coming in over to EXP, but what does that actually translate for me? And the thing that I learned from doing this is that it's really it's like the saying about, your family and your roots. They're like, you can't know where you're going until you know where you come from, right? It's kind of that same concept of, I can't tell the brokerage or the team what their best solution or what their best path of success is until I know where they're at currently, because it's about the delta. It's about moving them from one place to the other. That change is where the opportunity is or is not. And so if I don't get the current model and the current, opportunity, then I can't tell them, hey, this is what I think, it looks like. So I'm actually going to delete these names real quick. Probably should have done that beforehand, but oh well. So what I do is you say to me, Chris texts me and says, hey, I'm talking to this brokerage or this team, would really love for you to run numbers for them. Okay, great. So I will send them a custom template where they will go in and fill in the last 12 months of GCI units and volume, and then also the details of what their current brokerage model or team model is. So if it were a team, there would be a column for team splits, whatever their brokerage split, caps, royalties. This one's pretty simple because they only collect 30% with no cap. So that's the hardest piece is, and everyone's like, well, can you just, make it automated? I can't, because every single team, every single brokerage has a different model and the order of operations is different. So when I say 70-30 split, or let's go 60-40 on a team, I assume that the team member is getting 60% and the team leader is getting 40. Well, guess what? That is not always true. There are some team leaders that are getting 60% and the team member is only getting 40%. So I never want to assume that that's the default. And so a lot of this is a custom formula around what is their current model, what happens when. And so I'm getting the per agent breakdown as well. Because if you sit there and text me, this happens all the time. Somebody will text me and will be like, hey, I've got a team, they've got 20 people, they do, 600 units and 50 million and whatever, 100 million, whatever their numbers are, right? What's their net difference going to be? What's their opportunity at EXP? And I'm like, that's not fair, because Chris said it, the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the people are doing 20% or producing 20% of the people are producing 80% of the results. And I don't even believe in that anymore. I believe on a 95-5 almost, 90-10 on a good day. I think it's getting smaller. So I never want to do an average, because that's not going to give the true picture for not only the team leader or the broker, but it's also not going to give it for the actual agent, whether it's a team member or individual agent at that brokerage. That's not fair to them. And so if we're not looking at how does it affect the team leader and the brokerage and all the agents that come, well, then we have a retention problem, because the majority of the agents are not going to come over because they don't really understand the financial piece, and they're not going to make the move because they don't know. So that's the key, is I'm collecting every single agent's breakdown of what their actual GCI, what their actual units are, volume, and then what's the model. And even if everybody's got a different compensation plan, right? RE/MAX is notorious for this person's grandfathered in, this person's on a monthly fee, this person's on a split, every single agent's specific, commission model is going to be what defines their current situation. So once I get all of the, breakdown for each agent and what their current model is, then what I do, and I come up with what that current net looks like for each agent and the brokerage. Okay. Then I come in and I plug all that into what does that look like at EXP? Are they going to be the best fit for a mega icon team, a standard team, individual agents, or self-organized? What makes the most sense financially for them to be successful at EXP? And so I'm plugging in those same GCI numbers that we had above, right? This is the same thing, and the same units and the same splits and all those things, and going, okay, what do we need to adjust? What is it going to cost them to do business at EXP? And then what that ultimately comes out to is, let me unhide for my grand finale here, is what is that net difference, right? And so visually, aesthetically, I'm looking at this going, wow, that's a lot of red. Ooh, man, why would I do that? Why, as a broker owner, if I'm going to lose $76,000, am I going to make that move? Or why would I move if all of my agents are going to lose money? Well, then that's the other part of the conversation. What does it look like to tap into rev share, right? If they only recruit 3 people, let's say it's an average of $1,800, and if they tap into the healthcare and they only save $200 a month, even though we know our average savings is $800 a month on the premiums, that puts almost everyone into a net gain, right? That visual difference is far more impactful than sharing the healthcare PDF with all the details about the healthcare, or sharing a video necessarily about rev share, right? But just them being able to see and narrow down and go, agent so-and-so, you're going to have the opportunity to net gain more revenue than you are now. That is a lot more impactful and easier for them to get to a yes than, oh, just trust us. Oh, just trust us. Rev share is going to fix everything. It's going to be great, right? And for the brokerage, even though I know the brokerage, between the broker revenue and the agent who's the actual broker or the team leader, even though they're still showing a net loss, what's really important to understand for them is that we're talking about their gross revenue net loss. It is only the difference in what they're getting currently off the top versus what they would receive as, and what I call this is the teamerage. So a brokerage that comes over to EXP becomes a teamerage. And so the teamerage is really, we're just looking at the net revenue difference here. And so the next part of the exercise for a brokerage is, now we would look at the P&L, because because they're not the broker in charge anymore, now they're not paying for payroll. They're not paying for technology, for transactions and SkySlope and Dotloop or whatever it is, right? They're not paying for CRMs. They're not paying for commissions to be paid and 1099s to be calculated and managed and all of that. So there's some legitimate, tangible operational expenses that they get to remove from their business immediately. And so looking at specifically for them, okay, yes, we know the revenue is going down by this much, but what expenses are being removed off of your plate at the same time? Because that keeps us closer to a net whole, right? And so that's the additional kind of extra step that I walk through with the brokerages to show the brokerage, hey, listen, it's really not this massive gap, because I can easily show you how to save 20K, 30K, 50K. And then ultimately in the long run, I will show them, hey, here's what your rev share opportunity looks like. And I will show them realistic growth expectations if you get X amount of agents in 3 years, 5 years, whatever that looks like. And ultimately that's where it replaces any loss that you're going to experience in the first, 1 to 2 years, moving into more brokerage owner. So that is my, other piece. I'm going to stop sharing for this. Any questions about this kind of team and brokerage comparison opportunity?
That's a lot. That was a lot. Yeah. Obviously, those are probably like, what the heck? Yeah. Then this is why, again, most brokerage owners look at business differently than the agents that work for your office. The agents that work in your office never see this side of the fire curtain. They never do. This side of the iron curtain is where we have to sit there and deal with all the crap and then like stress over it and have sleepless nights. So yeah, there's a bunch of that. Ronnie, go for it.
Ashley, thank you for that. Can you share kind of your experience in teeing up this conversation, giving the conversation, following up on the conversation?
Absolutely. So obviously the hardest thing about this piece of the conversation is people are really weird about their money, right? They don't necessarily, you don't just immediately get into rapport enough to go, hey, send me your financials, tell me all of your things. That's not going to happen overnight. So I think it really depends on the person and their situation. If there's some urgency and like, you took them to lunch, the broker's just like, man, I'm struggling. I don't know how I'm going to pay rent next month, right? Then that's a lot easier to go, hey, I might be able to help with that. I've got to introduce you to somebody. Ashley is your girl, right? She can look at and we can talk about and see what makes sense if we can, move your brokerage and keep you whole or help you grow or whatever. If it's like, I'm kind of interested, like they're not really, then it's more like, hey, if you're open to this, I'd love for you to walk through this exercise with someone who is this third-party expert. They've had 20 years in the business. They know teams, models, commissions, finances, all the things. Then she's the expert, and I'd love to get you in touch with her and do this exercise just so you know, and you have clarity around what are you currently doing versus what is your opportunity at EXP. And the beautiful thing about not being at corporate now, Chris, is I was only allowed to talk about EXP and compare EXP to their current model. But now I'm just an agent, just like you guys. So I don't have the same like SEC expectations and things like that, right? So if you know that they're considering another brokerage and they're looking at some other model, guess what? I can plug in those numbers and go, here's the comparison. And what that does is that closes the door on retention on the front end, because now they're not shiny object and dangling the carrot 6 months from now or a year from now when their anniversary date rolls over, right? And so it's like going, hey, I'm not afraid to look at everything, and let's have that conversation now so that we're all clear on it on the front end, and you know what you're making your decision based on. So I think it's hard. That's a hard answer, but I think it just is when you think that opportunity presents itself to be like, hey, let's look at the real numbers instead of just arbitrary or average or, just saying, hey, it's an 80-20 split with a 8K cap for a standard team, right? That does not necessarily give them a full picture around how does that affect every team member and how does that affect them, right? Because here's the thing. Sometimes I'll get the numbers plugged in and I'm like, hey, this is not a win for anyone, right? And so maybe you just walk away from this one. or you're just going to know that you're going to have a harder time of selling the value proposition beyond the cap splits and transaction fees, right? And I think that's where the biggest shift happens is so many agents are conditioned. We are conditioned to seeing the only value from a brokerage as being what's the cap, what's the split, what's the transaction fee, what's my office bill, right? It's the meat and potatoes of the models. And yet it's really hard to conceptualize at EXP. You're going from meat and potatoes to a 7-course menu, right? Because it's not just about the cap splits, commissions, and, office bills anymore. It's about so much more, and going outside of the transactions and into how else can we affect change in your life, i.e., the stock awards, right? And so I will include stock awards. I do include awards. I do not include the equity program because none of us are licensed stockbrokers. And so I can't talk about the value of what would have been or what could have been on the equity program. But I can say, hey, this person would be an icon award winner. And so as long as they do the same amount of production again, if they did it here at EXP, then they would be eligible to earn the $16,000 back. So I can include that. But overall, I think it's just, as long as you're getting into a relationship with them and offering a solution, then it can be any time that you make the introduction, right? I think as long as you're making it as, hey, I want to help you in your business, because a lot of times they're getting clarity just on their own model. Because when I plug it all in and they see like, oh, I didn't even make, 200,000 last year off of all of my agents. And especially for small brokerages and even teams, if the team leader wasn't producing, or if the broker owner isn't producing, guess what? They are massively in the hole. They are losing their rear ends on that because their production is keeping it open. And then they're stuck in their little geographical constraint of whatever MLS or state that they're licensed in. And so being able to show them this other path and being able to tangibly show them day one what that net difference is, it's night and day. So I'm gonna do it. I'm not this girl because I'm not typically a salesperson, but we know that on an average, national average, recruiting is about a 25% close ratio, right? And especially probably lower for teams and brokerages because it's a much bigger decision. It's a much bigger transition. So it takes much longer to close and make that, a done deal. My closing ratio with these pro formas and comparisons is 50%. So if you've got anyone that you're stuck with and they just aren't getting it or whatever, then bring me in, help me help you. And it's going to give a lot more clarity and transparency around what does this mean to them? Because everything you've done up until now is, what does this mean? Yes, to you, but it's more big picture, pie in the sky, hope and a prayer. This is more reality. Hey, you're already doing these things and this is what this looks like. So that was a very long-winded answer. I apologize.
How do you got the response? Either way, I think everybody needs to take away from this too for real is that the option is it's about being in a relationship again, right? Whether you have these relationships with people that are independents or people that have big, massive teams, this is relationships you have. And in both spectrums, you can have this conversation. If they come to you with an internal bleeding situation, which I would think, Ashley, is probably safe to say, if you have an independent right now that's probably 30 or less, you're probably bleeding internally. They just don't want to admit it. Right. And I get it. They want to go down the Titanic with Rose. Yeah. They want to go down with it. And I'm not mad at that. But the truth is, it's a great conversation to have as a friend to like, hey, I got somebody who would look at your financials just to give you an idea of where you're at. Maybe you can make some changes. Ashley would be a good connection, right? This is having this person there available to you to be able to do this kind of stuff that you don't need to do. You don't need to know all this stuff. Don't try to figure it out.
Please don't make your own spreadsheet because I promise you it's not going to be right.
Just hand off. This is a resource you have access to. And these are all recorded. So you guys know that every week I put it in the YouTube channel stuff. I'll put Ashley's information and contact in there as well. And you can be able to get in touch with her and ask her questions or be in contact so you have access to all that. We got about 1 more minute left. Vanina, you had a question real quick?
Yes, Ashley, did you say how much is your service? And also,
did not.
Okay.
Well, keep going.
And I would like to know, what is your title now? You're not corporate anymore, but what is your title?
So I just call myself a real estate business consultant. I will come in and just, do the one-off, hey, evaluation. If they're really struggling with their brokerage or team, then I come in and I will help with tech and training and hiring and, solutions and all that stuff. So I just call myself a real estate business consultant. And so what I'm charging for the comparisons for the teams and the brokerages is it's $250 for the analysis and the meeting. And then if they join, it's a $250 bonus. And that way I have, a little bit of skin in the game as far as the outcome of wanting to get us across the finish line. And I also will do, if it takes a couple meetings, then it takes a few meetings, right? If we have to, get the buy-in from the owner and then the office manager or someone else, then, we can kind of a la carte that. But I'm doing $250 for the analysis and the meeting, original presentation, to show them and validate all the data. And that's why, so Ronnie, I saw your question in the chat of the template. That's why I don't share the actual template, is because every single one is different. Every formula is different, that current model. So what I'll do is you say, hey, I've got somebody I want you to introduce you to and talk to. And I say, what's their team name or what's the brokerage name? And I will create that custom link that they put their data into. And then I go back, once I get their data, I plug in all my comparisons and everything.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Ashley, I appreciate it. This is very insightful. I am both ends of the spectrum, right? From the real estate production side as an individual agent, how we can increase our money, our revenue, right? Money's money, bottom line, right? And it's interesting, when you were coming, I saw your title like, oh, how agents can make more money. I'm thinking, all right, are we going to start charging 8% or 9%?
Nope.
That's just a conversation, right? On a list,
Right.
to increase your GCI. But this is a different concept. I like it. It's being a little bit more creative. Think outside the box. Think like a business owner. And the second piece, you guys, a great addition here for her, utilizing it for your team. If you're talking to anybody that has an independent of some sort, question, this is the person to go to. So Ashley, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. And I'll put all the information, the video stuff will be in the Team Freedom thing, so you guys will have access to that and watch this video over and over again. Second piece, before we exit real quick, I just want to let you know, also, I actually spoke to a Corcoran person yesterday, and Corcoran did just raise their fees $300 to all their agents in the office right now. So a lot of Corcoran agents are not happy about the $300 monthly increase. Just throw that out there. Do what you want with it. But just some insight. I'm like, okay, so there's some pains being really pressed hard right now in a lot of agents' necks, even in the market where it's declining, and we're seeing this, right, where people are hurting for money and they're asking for more. So just keep that in mind. Whatever. It is what it is. It's worth 2 cents. Awesome. Yeah, but we got to run our 4 minutes over. Did you have one quick question, Vanina, or statement or something?
Ashley, how do we get in touch with you? Are you on Workplace?
I told you, I'll put all the information on there. You have access to it in the YouTube Freedom. You'll have our contact on there. So just keep it close, okay?
Yeah. And awesome. I am in Workplace too, so you can help me down there.
Yes. Yeah. With Golladay with a G.
Yes.
Ashley, thank you so much. All right, you guys have a great week.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. See you soon.
Bye, guys.
Have a great week.